All right, welcome to another deep dive. We are going to a pretty interesting place today. We're going to Leys, a planet with two realms. Kind of a fascinating little twist there.
A planet of two worlds, Orderin and Lumen.
Yeah, so we're going to be unpacking this world and quite a bit more, so listeners, buckle up.
These two realms are fascinating because they represent these contrasting approaches to understanding the universe. So Orderin, very focused on structure, science, linear time. It represents a worldview that prioritizes logic and
Oh,
evidence.
it's a very show me the data kind of place.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you have Lumen, where time flows differently, and magic is a part of everyday life. It's like using your phone.
Right.
It's such a huge contrast, and I think it really sets the stage for some compelling questions.
Absolutely. And that's where we're introduced to our main character, Jon Lennox. He's a physics student from Orderin, a real science guy, and he gets pulled into Lumen while he's searching for his missing sister, Isla.
Like that moment when you realize adulting is way more complicated than any physics equation. Poor John. So how does someone who relies on logic and reason deal with a world where impossible things are possible?
That's the central conflict that drives FairyFrens. This journey of John confronting his own rigid worldview and learning to accept that there might be more to the universe than he can explain with science.
It's a big leap.
It is.
And speaking of contrasting worldviews, John has his companion Shep along for the ride, a Yorkshire Terrier. Now, Shep seems to be the opposite of John, all instinct and intuition. It makes you wonder if Shep will play a part in helping John adapt to this new world.
Shep's this very instinctive nature, and it could be a really important element of John's journey. It's as if Shep represents that part of ourselves that's open to the unknown, the part that doesn't need scientific proof to believe in things.
Okay, so two drastically different realms and a clash of worldviews. What else makes Leys so captivating? I'm talking about fairy friends here, so there has to be more to it than just science versus magic.
Oh, absolutely. One of the most fascinating elements of FairyFrens is the OR grid.
Oh, the ore grid.
Yes, imagine a network of magical energy that connects everything in LEYS, kind of like how our nervous system connects our body. It's the lifeblood of Lumen. It powers the magic. It influences the flow of time.
So it's more than just a magical energy source. It's like a cosmic internet.
Hmm.
But for magic, does this mean Orderin is also connected to the ore grid, even if they aren't aware of it?
Exactly. The aura grid actually permeates both realms, which suggests that there's this deeper interconnectedness that goes beyond their superficial differences.
Wow.
So this raises a really intriguing question. Could the OR grid be the key to John finding Isla?
Okay, now that's interesting, and we haven't even touched on the four magical clans that inhabit Lumen. The Daughters of the Mist, the Willow Warriors, the Fairy Guard, and the Mystic Maidens. Each one seems to have this unique connection to the OR grid and a very distinct role to play in this story.
These clans represent different ways of interacting with magic and navigating Lumen. Their interactions with John are guaranteed to be both enlightening and challenging, pushing him even further outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. So we have got a planet with two contrasting realms, a mysterious network of magical energy connecting everything, four unique magical clans, and a physics student who is shrey over his head. This is going to be wild.
And don't forget, the OR grid isn't just a source of magic, it's also a potential target. Enter Panowin, a vengeful sorceress who threatens to disrupt the OR grid's balance. Basically, she wants to plunge both Orderin and Lumen into chaos.
Talk about a villain with a plan. Corrupting the OR grid, that's some serious stakes. It could have consequences not just for Lumen, but for Orderin too.
Precisely. Panowin's actions could be seen as a metaphor for the dangers of tampering with forces we don't fully understand. This desire to control the OR grid really highlights the fine line between harnessing power and being completely consumed by it.
Yeah. And that brings us back to the theme of belief versus knowledge. John, with his background in science, he's going to need to confront the reality of magic, which goes against everything he's been taught.
It's a classic dilemma, isn't it? It's clinging to the familiar comfort of logic versus embracing the possibility of something much bigger than you can possibly imagine. I think John's journey might even challenge us to look at our own beliefs about what's possible.
It's like those moments when you experience something that you can't explain rationally. You're kind of forced to question your perception of reality.
Exactly, yeah.
Does that mean John will have to completely abandon his scientific understanding to navigate Lumen?
That's where FairyFrens gets really interesting. It's not really about choosing one or the other. It's about finding a balance between the two. Maybe John's journey is about discovering that science and magic aren't mutually exclusive, but two different lenses through which to view the same universe.
So it's not about choosing sides, but about expanding our understanding to include both logic and the seemingly impossible. That's a pretty cool perspective, one I think we could all benefit from.
Absolutely. And to really do that, we need to go deeper into the heart of Lumen. I say we start with the Daughters of the Mist, the first clan that John encounters. They're masters of illusion and time. They operate in a realm where perception is fluid and reality itself can be manipulated. I wonder, how will John, a man so grounded in logic, react to a world where nothing is as it seems?
Well, that is what we will be unpacking in part 2 of our deep dive.
Picking up where we left off, John's first encounter with Lumen's magic is through the Daughters of the Mist. And they're not your typical stage magicians. They manipulate time and perception, blurring the lines between what's real and what's an illusion.
Yeah, it's like stepping into one of those mind-bending optical illusions, but this time it's reality itself that's being distorted.
Mhm.
How does John even begin to process that with his scientific mindset?
And that's precisely what makes this introduction so compelling. The daughters, they challenge John's perception of truth. He's forced to question his reliance on empirical data when his senses are telling him one thing and the daughters are suggesting something completely different.
So it's not just about learning to accept magic. It's about understanding that reality itself might be more subjective than he initially thought.
Exactly. The daughters embody this key theme in FairyFrens: the limitations of a purely logical approach to understanding the universe. They demonstrate that there are these layers of reality that science, as we currently understand it, might not be equipped to explain.
It makes you wonder if they are intentionally messing with John, kind of like a cosmic hazing ritual for newcomers to Lumen.
Right. Their motives are definitely shrouded in mystery. Are they testing him? Are they guiding him? Or perhaps manipulating him for their own purposes? This story keeps us guessing, which definitely adds to the overall intrigue.
Okay, so let's shift gears to another aspect of this world that's been bugging me, the O-Grid. We've established that it's this network of magical energy that connects everything in Leys, but how does it actually work?
That's where FairyFrens takes a fascinating approach, you see. Instead of providing us this really concrete explanation, it uses the OR grid as a metaphor for the interconnectedness of all things. It kind of suggests that there are these unseen forces at play linking seemingly disparate elements.
Kind of like how scientists are now discovering that the human gut microbiome influences everything from our physical health to our mood. We can't see it, but it's playing this vital role behind the scenes.
Precisely. The OR grid functions in a similar way, shaping the very fabric of Leys. It's the source of Lumen's magic, but it also has a subtle influence on Orderin, even if they are unaware of it.
Which brings us back to Panowin and her plan to corrupt the OR grid. If it is the lifeblood of this planet, then disrupting it could have catastrophic consequences. It's like introducing a virus into a computer network. The damage could spread rapidly and unpredictably.
Exactly, and that's what makes Panowin such a formidable antagonist. She's not just trying to conquer Lumen, she's threatening to unravel the delicate balance that holds Leys together.
So what does this mean for John and his search for Isla? Could the OR grid and its potential corruption hold the key to her disappearance?
It's a possibility that the story subtly hints at. Perhaps Isla somehow became entangled with the OR grid, or maybe her disappearance is a symptom of the disruption that Panowin is causing.
It's like those mystery novels where seemingly unrelated events turn out to be connected by a single thread. And in this case, that thread could be the OR grid.
Now let's talk about another key element in FairyFrens: the unique magical clans that inhabit Lumen. Each clan has this distinct relationship with the OR grid, reflecting their specific abilities and their role in maintaining balance.
Right, we briefly touched on the Daughters of the Mist, who John encounters first. But there are 3 more, each with their own intriguing connection to the OR grid.
The Willow warriors, for instance, are deeply connected to the natural world. They draw their strength and wisdom from the ancient forests of Lumen, acting as guardians of the land and its secrets.
They sound like the embodiment of balance and harmony, the protectors of the natural order. It makes me wonder how their magic would be affected if the OR grid were to become corrupted.
That's a question the story explores as John's journey unfolds. He learns that each clan's connection to the OR grid is both a source of power and a potential vulnerability. The Willow warriors, despite their strength, could be particularly susceptible to any disruptions in the natural flow of energy.
So it's not just about having magical abilities, but about how those abilities are interwoven with the very fabric of this world, making them dependent on the OR grid stability.
Exactly. And then there's the Fairy Guard, who are masters of aerial combat, soaring through luminous skies. They symbolize freedom and vigilance, protecting the realm from external threats.
Their ability to fly, it makes me think of how birds navigate using the Earth's magnetic field. Could the Fairy Guard be similarly attuned to the OR grid, using its energy currents to soar through the air?
That's an insightful observation, and it highlights how FairyFrens subtly weaves together elements of the natural world with its magical elements. It suggests that magic in Lumen isn't separate from nature, but an extension of it.
And let's not forget the mystic maidens, who are known for their healing powers and their ability to perceive glimpses of the future. They sound like the oracles of Lumen, guiding and advising with their wisdom and foresight.
Their connection to the aura grid seems to be more intuitive and spiritual. They seem to be able to tap into the flow of time, sensing echoes of the past and ripples of the future.
It's like they have access to a different dimension of the OR grid, one that reveals the interconnectedness of time itself. It makes you wonder if they have any insights into Jon's quest or the threat posed by Panowin.
Their role in the story is certainly intriguing, and I suspect their unique perspective will be crucial in helping Jon navigate the complexities of Lumen and confront the looming darkness.
So we've got these four clans, each with their own unique connection to the OR grid, representing different facets of Lumen's magic and its delicate balance. And in the middle of it all is Jon, a scientist forced to confront a world that defies his understanding. It's a recipe for a truly captivating story.
But let's not forget about Shep, Jon's loyal companion. While Jon grapples with logic and reason, Shep seems to instinctively understand Lumen's magic. He navigates this world with ease, trusting his senses and intuition.
It's like he's a furry, four-legged embodiment of the saying, let go and trust the flow. He's not burdened by the need to explain everything, he just accepts Lumen for what it is. It makes you wonder if Shep's instinctive understanding will be the key to unlocking Jon's potential and ultimately finding Isla.
That's a question we'll be exploring further as we delve into the final part of our FairyFrens deep dive. We'll unravel the mysteries surrounding the OR grid, examine the delicate balance between the clans, and uncover the truth behind Isla's disappearance. Stay tuned.
Okay, so we've explored the realms, the magic, these clans, but it feels like we've just scratched the surface of FairyFrens. It's more than just an adventure. It really dives into these really profound themes.
Yeah, one of the big ones is this clash between belief and knowledge, which we see through Jon's journey. He's this scientist forced to confront a world where logic doesn't really apply and intuition is key.
It's almost like he's being forced to unlearn everything he thought he knew. It's like a crash course in a whole new reality. Isn't that something we all kind of experience? You know, encountering things that challenge what we understand, stuff that can't be explained by science or reason.
And that's what makes FairyFrens more than just a fantasy story, I think. It becomes this reflection of our own struggles with the unknown. It asks us to consider, what if there is more to the universe than we currently understand? What if what we know now is just a tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle?
It's like that moment when you realize, oh, the map I've been using my whole life is totally incomplete. There are entire continents I haven't even seen.
Exactly. And that's where faith, or maybe a better word is belief, comes in. Not necessarily in a religious sense, but just being open to the possibility of things we can't immediately prove or explain.
So not ditching logic entirely, but being open to more possibilities.
Exactly. And FairyFrens does a great job showing this through the four magical clans. Each one represents a different way of interacting with the OR grid, a different approach to understanding and harnessing its power.
Right, like the Daughters of the Mist, the Masters of Illusion. They really challenge how we see reality, a reminder that things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah. And then you have the Willow warriors, who are so deeply connected to nature. They embody this intuitive, almost spiritual understanding of the aura grid, getting their strength and wisdom from those ancient forests.
It's like they're tapping into some ancient knowledge, wisdom that goes way beyond textbooks and formulas.
Absolutely. Then there's the Fairy Guard, who represent this courage and discipline. They use their aerial abilities to protect Lumen, demonstrating this more active, almost martial approach to using magic.
Like they've learned to channel that ore grid energy into physical prowess, becoming like living weapons to defend their realm.
And then, of course, you have the Mystic Maidens, who have those powers of foresight and healing. They seem to have this mystical, almost prophetic connection to the aurora grid, able to see glimpses of the past and future.
Like they're reading the threads of time that are woven into the fabric of the aura grid. It's an understanding that goes beyond linear thinking.
And throughout Jon's journey, he encounters each clan, learning from them, challenging their viewpoints, and slowly expanding his understanding of what's possible.
It's like he's making a whole new map of reality, one that includes both logic and magic, the scientific and the intuitive.
Exactly. And don't forget Shep, Jon's faithful companion. Shep seems to instinctively get Lumen, navigating its magic with ease. It's like a reminder that sometimes the answers we look for aren't found in logic, but by trusting our gut, our intuition.
It's that little voice inside all of us that says, take that leap of faith, even when our brain is saying, no way.
And that's one of the beautiful things about FairyFrens, right? It shows us that there's value in both approaches, the careful analysis of a scientist and those intuitive leaps of an artist. Maybe it's about finding that balance where logic and magic come together. That's where we truly unlock our potential.
So as Jon goes deeper into Lumen, searching for Isla and confronting his own limitations, he's also kind of showing us that discovery isn't just about finding answers, it's about learning to ask better questions.
It's about questioning what we believe, challenging what we assume, and embracing the mystery of a universe that's bigger and more complex than we can imagine.
And in a world that always wants to put everything into these neat little boxes, FairyFrens dares to think outside those boxes. It reminds us that true magic is in embracing the unknown, finding beauty in the paradox, and trusting the journey, even if we can't see the destination.
So as we wrap up our duck dive into FairyFrens, we'll leave you with this. What if the impossible is just a possibility waiting to be discovered? What if the magic we're searching for is already within us, just waiting to be unleashed?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep believing in the power of your own imagination.